So, are we live? I just need to see this. Need to make sure that we are. Okay, so it's receiving your content. Okay, guys, so we're live right now for the good old Baydzone podcast show. Now, this has returned right now, and I'm going to share this on some social media pages so we get people in here. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about a few topics today, being Kurt Angle's Hall of Fame induction, and also a few other things. Alrighty, so Baydzone. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so normally my thing is I will have a guest on the show or something like that, and like I'll interview that person, whether they be a wrestler or an actor or whatever the hell they are, whoever the hell they are. You know, but not every episode has to be that. I don't have to have a guest on the show every time, you know, like it's a thing that I do, yeah, and that's what this show is mostly known for, but doesn't have to be known entirely for that. It can be pretty much anything. But yeah, so just give me a second, guys. I'm just sharing this out. So I'm just sharing this out to Twitter and Facebook. So sorry I went quiet for a minute there. I had to do that. Anyway, what's up, Masp La Dalimsik? Okay. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But we're live right now. We're going to talk a bit about Kurt Angle's Hall of Fame induction. We're going to talk about a few things like the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble's coming up. And that's very interesting because the Royal Rumble, oh man, it's so unpredictable this year. It's so unpredictable. Nobody knows really who could win. Who could win the Royal Rumble? You've got so many options there. You've got Finn Balor. You've got freaking... Oh, you got Roman Reigns if he loses his Universal title match. But also, you've got, Kevin Owens if he loses. You got freaking Chris Jericho. You've got The Undertaker. You've got Goldberg. You've got Lesnar. There's so much that really could happen here. I don't think that Goldberg or Lesnar will win. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put that out there. I don't think either one of them are winning. They're going to eliminate each other and they're going to continue their feud and they're going to have some big blow-off match at WrestleMania. But, you know, it's interesting. There's so many choices. There's so many people that could win. There are so many possibilities, guys, really. I'm thinking myself, not knowing a whole lot heading into it, I think I'm leaning more towards either Finn Balor or you've got The Undertaker, because I have a weird feeling they might have Cena tie the record, Ric Flair's 16 world title record at the Rumble. Because keep in mind, guys, this is the 30th annual Royal Rumble. This isn't a small Royal Rumble. This isn't the 29th, the 28th, the 27th. This is the 30th. The 30th annual. This is big. This is not your average thing. Like WrestleMania 30 was big. Look at what they did with WrestleMania 30. They had The Undertaker's streak die. They're going to want to tie Ric Flair's record. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't think they really should have Cena lose 3 times on pay-per-view clean to AJ Styles. AJ Styles is worthy of it. Look at the freaking track record that he's got. He's amazing. But honestly, I just don't think that, they'll have Styles, go over Cena again. Now, I've got some comments here. I'll answer from the comment section. Is Balor going to be ready? Haven't heard anything about his recovery. Now, I've heard a few rumours circling about Balor, because I heard that Balor, some people are saying Balor's going to be ready by the Rumble, and some people are saying that he's not going to be ready, and that he will return somewhere near Fastlane. But that's highly doubtful for me. Really, if you think about it, I think Finn Balor's definitely going to have some sort of appearance in the Rumble. It's just got to happen. Even if he's not really ready, they should just have him in the Rumble and protect him. There are ways you can protect a guy in the Rumble, because the Rumble isn't really a match where you're going to be doing flips and tricks, The Rumble match it's more like take a guy to the corner of the ring and work him in the corner for a bit with punches and stomps and trying to push him out of the ring, while, other people try to do this exact same thing on the opposite side of the ring to you. And you just the whole ring is filled with dudes doing the exact same thing. They're just over in the corner beating the shit out of each other. But, every year we look forward to it. We love it. But that's mainly what the Rumble is. Maybe sometimes you'll get a moment or a bit of time where the ring is clear and nobody, is really in that ring, and nobody's, all doing that whole corner thing. And there's say, because last year you had Lesnar, he'd pull out a few suplexes and do, a few cool things there with that. But yeah, I think what they could do with Balor is just have him be one of those guys that's in the corner, maybe just have somebody beating on him, and just have him trying to not get thrown out. That's if he's still injured. He could do that, but it's about that time where Balor's starting to heal up a bit more, and I'm hearing that his condition is getting a bit better, so it's going to be interesting, really. Will Balor be ready? We're all going to just have to find out. We're going to have to find out. But I think Balor will definitely be in that Rumble. That's just my thing. That's my thought. Now we got another comment here. Any chance you think WWE will wait to break Ric Flair's record at Elimination Chamber? Right. Oh, golly. They could do that, but I just don't think that the Elimination Chamber is... I know that the match is hellacious. Look at it. It's a crazy match. It's 6 men brutalizing each other in probably the most vicious steel cage they've ever constructed. Now, they could have John Cena, tie the record at Elimination Chamber, because Elimination Chamber, it's a crazy event. Think about it. That's a brutal match, man. That steel, that freaking steel floor, if you do a move to a guy on that, that's going to hurt. That's not going to be a walk in the park. Now, they could build it up like Cena overcome the odds of 5 other men and do that thing where they could play out that storyline and have Cena walk in to Mania with the belt. But maybe, and what I think WWE is very likely to do, because they've done this before, is they really love to book their faces very strong. And they even did it with Daniel Bryan after WrestleMania when he was injured during that match, and he was all taped up. The next night he was miraculously looking and performing so much more like he was very hard to beat. And he, had that match with Batista on Raw, and it was just like I even heard Batista talk about it on, I think it was Jericho's podcast. He said that he would have liked it if Daniel had been selling more, selling the injuries of what his body was put through. And what I think is, I think WWE is very likely to have John Cena tie it at the Royal Rumble and have him defend it at Elimination Chamber. And I don't think Styles will win it back. I think Cena would probably retain, and then he would go into Mania probably to face The Undertaker. Because a lot of people are talking about this, title versus career match. They want Cena versus Taker, but there's a lot of rumors circling around that they don't want Cena versus Undertaker anymore. It's hard to say really, because when you've got people like Dave Meltzer posting things, because he's a very reliable source, he's very looped in. He's in the loop, man. he's got his own podcast thing, and he has his own website. I think it's Wrestling Observer or something like that. But he's in the loop. I don't know what he's done to get so in the loop and have so much knowledge about what happens in the business, but he just does. And whenever he says something, everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well that's happening." Now, a few times he's been wrong, and I've noticed that. A few times he'll say something's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. But the majority of the time, he's very on the ball. He's on the money. So it's just, I think that they're going to have maybe Cena versus Taker for the title, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled out a Samoa Joe versus John Cena, or Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles for the WWE title, because I don't really think that when I'm hearing rumours of Vince saying, "Oh, I don't want Cena versus Taker," it worries me, because I feel that Vince might kind of be like that. He'd sit there and think, "Oh, we can't have Cena versus Undertaker. I don't want that." And that could definitely happen. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, as for Kurt Angle and the Hall of Fame induction, he has just been inducted in the 2017 Hall of Fame. That right there is an accomplishment very great. That's an extravagant accomplishment. Now, I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, well, the gold medal was a big achievement." Look at his wrestling career. Look at what he's done. He's done a lot. He's done very well in WWE when he started out. Then he went to TNA. He did very well there. And I know people can argue and say, "Oh, TNA is nothing. TNA is just this indie rival that really isn't that great, and it's not even that competitive." And it's not. It doesn't stand a chance against WWE. It really doesn't. But the internet, man, the wrestling community on the internet, that's what, a lot of the time, they are the people that are speaking out. It's not all the other fans in the arena. It's the internet wrestling community. And when Broken Matt sort of started becoming a thing that was more loved by the people, that's when TNA kind of propelled itself a bit more. But I feel like TNA's sort of gone, they've backslidden a bit since then. Like, it was cool at first, and it was really awesome to see these new weird things, and that they were experimenting with, a whole bunch of gimmicks. Like, they had a lot of dark gimmicks coming through on screen, but they also had a lot of weird gimmicks. Like, you just watch it and say, okay, well, this is weirdly fascinating. I don't really think I should be watching this, but I've just got to keep watching anyway. And that's kind of what TNA was for a bit there, a couple months back when they were, near Bound for Glory and stuff like that. And I watched Bound for Glory and I really loved it. It was entertaining, but, it just, it reached a point, and it's reached a point now, where I'm watching the product and I'm just thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on? Because they were doing really well for a while there, and I think they've just reached a point where they've had all these really weird things going on backstage, and there's a lot of rumours going on about, they were in trouble for a long time there, and that company looked like they were about to just die. Like, they have looked like they were going to die a million times. But they ended up surviving and carrying on and doing well. Well, not doing well, but fucking surviving at least. That's just what they were doing. But I think they're at that point again where they're struggling right now, and I think they're struggling creatively, and it's hard for a smaller company like that to do a whole lot of great and do a whole lot of different storylines, because they're stuck with such a small. It's like a little. Yeah, I know the McMahon family have used this a lot of time on the TV when they talk about it on Raw. They go, oh, like Stephanie said it to Sting. Oh, you're like a little, I think it was a little minnow, was it, swimming in an ocean, and she talked about WCW being like a little pond or something like that, and how WWE was much bigger. Now TNA, that's smaller than a pond, man. TNA is just so small. That company is so. I think that company for so long has just been hanging on by a thread, and that thread is thinning out even more every year. You look at it, it's just thinning out more every year. But I think when they get people in like Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, aka Aaron Rex now, yeah, I think they keep themselves somewhat relevant. But keeping yourself somewhat relevant isn't what's going to do a whole lot of wonders for them. Like, I know Matt Hardy did massive wonders for them when they were looking pretty damn grim. They were looking TNA death in the face pretty much. Yeah, so I think they really need to just try and do something, some sort of skit, segment, whatever the hell you want to call it. Something that's going to get people talking again, because Broken Matt, nobody had seen that before. They'd never seen Matt Hardy go that far. They'd never seen him reach that point, but they're doing it all too often. That's something I've noticed, is now they've got Aaron Rex out there acting like a punce every week, and it's just like, okay, well, what the hell is this? Because it's every week they're just getting really weird shit on the TV, and I think if you do too much of it, it's just, it's a bit shit. Don't do it too much. Don't do it too often, because people are just going to watch the product and go, okay, well, this is pretty much what TNA is now. It's just something that repeatedly just feed us the same shit over and over and over again. You know, and I've got a comment in the comment section saying TNA is like a cat with 9 lives. It is. It is, honestly. But I think, yeah, getting back to Kurt Angle and his Hall of Fame, I just went on a big tangent rant about fucking TNA. It wasn't really a rant, it's just me talking about their survival. Kurt Angle's very deserving. He's very deserving of the Hall of Fame induction. I think he's headlining it. Yeah, I think he actually is headlining the Hall of Fame ceremony, but I don't know. I just find it very weird. I think he's very deserving. Look, he's won a gold medal. He's done a whole lot in the business. He's even a Hall of Fame inductee with TNA. They inducted him into the Hall of Fame before WWE did. So, and I know WWE's not going to talk about that. They don't really talk about that stuff. But you know, I think that they could bring that up, but they're just not going to. They're not going to say, hey, you know, he's an inductee from TNA, he's already in the Hall of Fame, and all this sort of shit. I don't think they were going to do that, but it's cool now that he's a part of 2 Hall of Fame classes in 2 different companies. He's done a lot. He's freaking an Olympic gold medalist. He's done a lot in the business, man, and I think that if he wanted one final run, and he should have his send-off be in the WWE, he shouldn't just get inducted into the Hall of Fame and never wrestle a match with the company again. I think that'd be a waste of opportunity, because they really need to utilise what he has left while he can still go in the ring. Like, look at The Undertaker, he's 50-something, and they're still using him. I still think Kurt could have done a whole lot in the company. Like, he left very early. He should have been there longer. He wasn't, but you know, he still kept himself relevant. Like, he left at a relatively high point in his career, and he was a main event player in every other place he ever stepped foot into. And like, when he comes to WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, he's like at the top of the card, the main event. Every show almost that he's wrestling at, he's the main event. Everybody's got this guy in their main event, man, and he's just, you know, he's a star for a reason. And he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for a reason. I think it's a very, very good choice to have him in the Hall of Fame. But I'm going to say one thing, like it or not, why is Kurt Angle inducted into the Hall of Fame before somebody like The Undertaker? I'm just going to say that, because The Undertaker has done everything, man. He's done everything. Like, look at him. He's been there for a long ass time. He's been there longer than Kurt. He's been there way longer than Kurt. He's been there longer than frickin' anybody right now, I think. It still doesn't mean that I think that Kurt's not worthy of it. I think he's definitely worthy of it. But I think The Undertaker probably could have been inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. He was definitely worthy of it a couple of years ago, but yeah, Kurt is very deserving. I think next year is going to be Taker's year, because I know one thing they don't like doing is they don't like inducting someone into the Hall of Fame before they retire in the ring. They like doing it after they've retired, and I think they want to do that for The Undertaker when he's retiring. So yeah, but it's odd, because now that I say that, there's rumours of Kurt like returning to WWE for like one last run and stuff like that. And you know, he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I know they don't like doing that before somebody retires, but it's just interesting, because normally they only induct someone when they're retiring, and they did that with Sting, and Sting announced that he was retiring at the Hall of Fame. And yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Kurt's going to be coming back. I don't know if he's done, because he hasn't ruled it out. He hasn't said, hey, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore or ever again or whatever. But yeah, now I've been asked a question here. Do you have an Xbox One S? No, sadly I don't. I'm wanting to get one at some point. It would be really awesome to get one, but I need to obviously wait to fork out the money for it, because I need to get a damn laptop or a PC for myself, because right now I'm using my brother's to do this podcast here. Who do I want to induct? Kurt Angle. Alright, Kurt Angle. Who do I want to induct him? That is a hard question. That's a very hard question, because I don't know really. Like, I've seen him have a few feuds with people, and I've seen him have some interesting, storylines with people like, Brock Lesnar. He was with, I wouldn't, it's hard to say. They could get somebody like Lesnar to do it, but they're not going to. They're honestly not. They're not going to be like, hey, Lesnar, get your ass out here from Minnesota. Well, he's going to already be out there, because he's going to be on the WrestleMania card. He's going to be facing Goldberg. We all know that. But, yeah, it's hard to say, really. I think, I'd like to see Lesnar do it, but I think that'd get somebody else. That is a hard question, man. I'm really stuck on who would even do it. Like, anybody could do it, honestly. Anybody. I think anybody Kurt wants to induct him could do it. He could just reach out to anyone. He could just say to a family member, hey, I want you to induct me, and then they would go, okay, well, I'll do it. But yeah, I don't know, maybe he's got like an older wrestler or something from the past that he looked up to. Maybe he'll get him to come in. But right now, I don't know who could do it. Now, WrestleMania. I want to talk a bit about WrestleMania as well, because I've talked a bit about the Rumble. I've talked about Angle and his Hall of Fame induction. He's definitely deserving. Anybody who sees this, don't take the comments I said out of context about, Undertaker, should have been inducted before, Kurt. I think we all know that Taker probably should have got inducted years ago, back after WrestleMania 30, or around that time. He looked like he could have been inducted around that time, but he's still been going on for years after that. 4 years now. It's 4 years later and he's still going. It's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy. I thought he was done at WrestleMania 30 when he went down to Lesnar. I thought that was it. That final walk out of that ring, I thought he was done. Like, that could have been his final match. It really could have been, and that would have been the most tragic send-off, but also it would have been a fitting send-off, because that's his streak, man, and that just died, and it looked like his career died along with it. But miraculously and surprisingly, he kept his career alive, and he walked out of that arena and he come back at Battleground. Then he had that feud with Lesnar at SummerSlam, and that was interesting, and that WrestleMania match with Bray Wyatt. Yeah, talking about WrestleMania. Now let's just get the obvious ones out of the way, because I'm going to do some match predictions here and see what I think might be happening at WrestleMania 33. I think that they're doing... Oh man, this all indicators point to this. All indicators point to this. They're going to do Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. They're going to do it, man. They're not going to have these guys just have this storyline and then have it fizzle out. They're going to build this to WrestleMania. It's going to be Bray versus Randy, and that's going to be a great match, I think. I think that's going to be a great feud. And they're doing exactly what I think they'd do, is they like to play Randy Orton out to be this guy that messes with your head. And that's what he's doing right now. He's messing with Bray Wyatt and he's messing with Luke Harper. And there's going to be some point where the feud just erupts, man, and it's just going to blow off, and that match is going to happen at WrestleMania. They're going to have to eliminate Luke Harper from the equation, and I think that's what's going to happen. They're all going to break up. This is not going to survive. This whole thing with all the Wyatts together right now, and with Randy being a part of the Wyatts, this whole thing is going to crumble. This is where the Wyatt family dies. This thing right here. Luke Harper's going to obviously get split from Randy, and they're going to get split up because of Orton. And, they teased it last week with Luke Harper saying, "Oh, it's all your fault, Randy, it's all your fault." And he walked out of the arena, and, I think that something's going to happen that Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper's not going to want to work together. And it's just going to be down to Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, and Luke Harper's going to go off and do his own thing. Whether frickin' it's Eric Rowan coming back and teaming up with him, or him going on a singles run, going after like the IC title or something. Or something else, because I think The Miz would be doing something with I think that The Miz is going to be facing off against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. I have a weird feeling that that's going to happen. It's hard with him having an injury and with him retiring, but they've been building on it too much, man. And if Daniel Bryan wanted that to be his retirement match and they cleared him for that, that would be cool. That'd probably be the best thing. Would be the perfect thing. I think really they should do it. But yeah, I think Miz and Bryan might happen. So there's Miz and Bryan, Randy versus Bray. Then there's the obvious Goldberg versus Lesnar. Fuck, man. If nobody could see this match coming, you're as blind as a bat. That match is going to happen at WrestleMania, definitely. And I think Lesnar might be getting his revenge. Because they're not going to have him just get jobbed out and then... He could go down to Goldberg again. He could. But I think Lesnar's going to get his revenge. Because I think Goldberg, it's going to be harder to get him in for more shows. I know he's got the Fastlane. He's booked for Fastlane and WrestleMania as well as the Rumble. And he's doing well right now, and he's agreeing to do all these dates for the company, but I feel like that's not going to last forever. It could be a very minimal thing. It could be like a couple years, maybe just like 2 years or something, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'm 50, man, I'm old, I don't want to do this anymore." He kind of has that look about him, like he's going to reach that point where he's just like, "Oh, I don't really feel like doing it. I don't really care about the money." And he didn't care about the money for years. He could have had all the money he wanted wrestling for this company, and he just didn't do it. He didn't want it. And that's fair enough, man. When you reach that age and when you've already done all this wrestling for so many years, you have that right to just say, "I don't want to do this anymore." And Shawn Michaels, he's reached that point. He doesn't want to come back for one last match. Everybody wants him to, but he just doesn't want it. So I think it's going to be Randy versus Bray, Goldberg Lesnar. You could have Miz and Bryan. I think Daniel should put the Miz over. I know it's not a popular decision, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, Daniel should have won, and we love Daniel." And a lot of people do. Hell, I love Daniel Bryan, man. But I think he needs to do the right thing. And if he's not cleared to wrestle all the time, he should put the guy that's there constantly wrestling over so he can create bigger and better stars. And if Daniel beats The Miz, it's just going to be like, well, I told you so. And then he's going to go back to his general manager thing, and The Miz is just going to go back to SmackDown and just complain and just do his thing regular, and nobody's going to really take him seriously. I think he needs to put Daniel Bryan out, and I think he needs to do it at the grandest stage of them all so they can cement a big heel star in The Miz. It's not a popular decision, but I think they need to do it. Because that's logical, man. If you think about it, it's, you know, if you want to create future stars, and a lot of people complain about this, they say, oh, we don't have enough big stars, we need to get all these part-timers in because none of our current stars are doing it, they're not cutting the mustard. Well, if you get somebody like The Miz and you put him over Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, a guy that hasn't been in the ring for years, and everyone will have their eyes on that match, and they'll be expecting Daniel to win. They really will. They really will, man. Look at it. They'll be like, okay, Daniel's going to win. He's going to put the nasty heel down. He's going to put him in his place. And then what if everybody's expecting that, and then out of nowhere, The Miz just beats him clean? Imagine what that would do for him. Imagine how big of a star he'd become beating Daniel Bryan, the guy that beat Batista and Batista and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 30 for the WWE title, and the biggest main event in a long time, overcoming Triple H and everything. God, if he can overcome Triple H and Batista and Randy all in one night, everybody's going to expect Bryan to win. Everybody is. And I even am. I'm expecting him to win. I think Vince is that kind of dude where he's like, okay, Miz, you're great and everything, you're a good heel, but you just need to put Daniel over. And it would probably be the nice thing as well to put Daniel over, but I think Daniel, if he's not going to be back in a full-time position, he needs to have that final match, and he needs to put The Miz over. Now, so we got Goldberg, Lesnar, Miz, Bryan, Bray versus Orton, of course. Bray versus Orton at Mania would be awesome. Wish they would include Harper and make it a triple threat. Hey, they could, man. They could reach that boiling point. That could happen. You know what? They could even have a triple threat at Fastlane if something bad happens at the Royal Rumble. Or maybe Luke Harper could face off against Randy Orton at Fastlane, and he puts Harper out of action, so Harper's out of the equation. Because I know when they are doing some sort of feud like that, they're just going to want the leader of the Wyatts, Bray Wyatt, facing off against Randy Orton. They're not going to really want Luke Harper in it. Because I just see how WWE works, and they're not really going to want to do that. So, right, what else matches have we got? I think, yeah, it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Triple H. So we got what? We got Bray, Orton, Miz, Bryan, Goldberg, Lesnar, Triple H, Seth Rollins. Fuck, man, we can see that coming from a mile away. And it's going to start at the Royal Rumble. Triple H is going to fuck up Seth Rollins. He's going to do something to him. And then it's going to be like, you ruined my chance of main eventing WrestleMania. Then they're going to have a match at WrestleMania. That's going to happen. So that's 4 matches. I don't even need to get into that, man. They've been building this shit up for months. And they should have built it up more. They should have been having Triple H on TV more and doing it more. Why start a feud if you're not going to continue it properly? You know, they left it late. They left it a long time. But after that, what else have we got? We're up to match 4. Next match is match 5. I think they're going to do Owens versus Jericho. That's... everybody has been saying that that's going to happen. I think this year's WrestleMania is probably going to be one of the most predictable years, because we can kind of tell what's going to happen. This Royal Rumble is unpredictable. I don't know who's going to win the match. but I can kind of tell how this Mania card's going to go, and it's going to be Jericho versus Owens. What else? That's match 5, so we got match 6. Oh, now, this is where it gets difficult. I would love Cena versus Taker. I want that. I really do, but I don't think the company, and I don't think Vince is, like, with all these rumours circulating and everyone's saying and going on about it, they're just like, oh no, he doesn't want it anymore, and all these dirt sheets that have all this insider information are saying that Vince doesn't want to do it. And normally the internet, and I know everybody says this sarcastically, oh, the internet is always right. The internet is always right, and they say that as a joke. But in the case of WWE, with rumours on the internet, fuck, the internet is almost always right, man, because there was rumours about Styles coming in at the Rumble, and he came in. There was rumours of Taker showing up at Battleground. He showed up. And I didn't even expect Taker to be at Battleground. I didn't expect Taker to come in at SummerSlam at all. I didn't know anything about it until the internet broke the news. And then there's so many other things. Larry Butch Holes, I think, or Buckles. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but Four Horsemen Rule. Yeah, I do agree with you. Right, what else have we got? It's hard. I really want Taker versus Cena. I want that as a fan, man. That's a dream match of a century. You're not going to get a big match like that again for a long time. You're not. You're really not. You can make the argument that, oh yeah, you can get a whole other bunch of dream matches, and yeah, you can. But Cena versus Taker, we've been wanting this for fucking years. Just give it to us, Vince. Like, please, can you give it to us? Because a lot of us fans have wanted this match. And a lot of people have wanted Sting versus Taker. I think it's reached that point now where people are just like, ugh. Like, people wanted that back at WrestleMania 30 and then 31. And then when 32 come around, they're just like, oh, I've lost hope. Now at 33, I think everybody's reached that point where they're just like, no, we're not getting it. Who gives a fuck? And Vince really messed up. He could have had that match years ago, and he was just like, no, I don't want it. But now it looks likely that that match will never happen. It could have, man. It really could have, but it's never going to happen. Cena and Taker could, but Vince just needs to put his damn foot down and say, you know what, I'm going to give the people what they want and give them this dream match. While they've got this dream match left, you know, it's very hard to think, because I think they might want, and I've heard this rumour, and it'd be so typical of Vince to do this. It would be so typical of Vince to just be like, okay, we're going to bring up Samoa Joe in the Rumble, and we're going to have him feud with John Cena, or we're going to have him feud with AJ Styles. Like, I know I'm looking forward to Joe debuting on the main roster myself. I'm really looking forward to it. It's something I've been looking forward to for a long time. And even with Shinsuke, I can't wait till Shinsuke comes up. And I think a match that I really want to see at some point is Shinsuke versus Lesnar. That'll be interesting. But I think that Vince has got to hold off on Cena versus Joe. Leave that for SummerSlam or some other big event. Leave it for some other place. You could do it next year at WrestleMania. You don't have to do it right now. You could have Samoa Joe feud with so many other people. There are so many other people we could feud with at WrestleMania. Like, have Cena go against Taker. Put Styles against Joe. You could easily do that. It'd be Styles versus Joe at Mania. Imagine how many people would love that. That'd be perfect, really. two TNA guys going at it in the WWE. People would lose their fucking minds, man. You put them two in the arena and they'd just be like, wow, at WrestleMania, Styles versus Joe. Nobody would have ever thought that was going to happen years ago. Years ago, I think people would have been sitting there watching TNA going, Joe's never going to go to WWE and Styles is never going to go to WWE. But then, now you look at the company and it's just like, wow, look what's happened. So much shit has happened, man. Like, Joe is here, Styles is here, Nakamura is here. You got so many people in this company now, man. It's just ridiculous. You got Bobby Roode, every TNA guy. James Storm was even there for a bit. Eric Young, all these TNA guys are here. And I don't think WWE is going to stop with it. They're going to keep going after TNA guys. They're going to reach a point, and I think it's got to happen at some point. They've got to bring in, and if anyone else was going to come from TNA, and these are the people I'd want to come back. I'd want Drew Galloway. I'd want... who else would I want? I'd want Drew Galloway. I'd want EC3. I don't want him to come back as Derek Bateman. No, that would fucking suck. Bring him in as EC3. Bring him in as EC3. I don't care how weird the name is. Bring him in as EC3. Also, you've got... oh, what's his name? What's his name? I'm sorry. I've had a mental blank here. Jeez. Dummy, yeah. Who's that guy? Oh, fuck, I forgot his name. Fuck. He reminds me a lot of Austin Aries a bit. He reminds me a lot of him. But also, you've got Bobby Lashley. I want him back, man. Like, they could do Lesnar versus Lashley at Mania in the future. That'd be perfect. That'd be a great match. I want that to happen. Lesnar versus Lashley. But yeah, there are so many people from TNA that could definitely come over. I think Mike Bennett has to at some point in the future. I know Mike Bennett is, I think he's feeling rather secure in himself at TNA and he's doing well. He's one of the top guys there. But I think Mike Bennett has to come over at some point in the future. But first, let him make a bigger name for himself. I think he needs to win a few TNA World titles. I think he needs to pretty much max out the point where he's just like, okay, I've done all I need to do here at TNA. Now I can go elsewhere. And yeah, I agree. I think Ty Dillinger needs to come out at 10. That's perfect. It's a perfect 10, really. Ty Dillinger coming out at number 10. It's predictable, but it should happen. It really should. Like, it's something that you don't want to pass that opportunity up. You've got to let that happen, man. It's Ty Dillinger coming in at 10. Like, he's going to have a match the night before at TakeOver with Eric Young, and I think that's going to be just great. But after that, he could definitely come in at the Rumble. He could be a surprise entrance. Carlito, oh fuck, I highly doubt it, man. I think he's like way past the calling cards for WWE. Like, he's in the Indies, man. He's come to my state's big city a lot recently, like for indie shows. He's doing a lot of indie shows now, and I know if WWE called him up and said, hey, Carlito, come back, Carlito probably be like, oh fuck yeah, I'll come in for the Rumble. But they're just going to job him out. Like, he's not going to be a main player or anything like that, sadly. He could have been a main player, like when he had that interesting show-off with Cena when he come back. But they just did not capitalise on that. Sorry, I'm just having a drink here. I've been talking my damn brain out. But yeah, other matches for Mania, I think there should be Taker versus Cena. I'm kind of at a bit of a loss for what I think could happen with Styles and Joe. I think they could bring Joe in to face Styles. Shane McMahon, I know they want him on the card, and I know Shane's going to want to be in the card as well. He was on Survivor Series. If he's on Survivor Series, he's going to be at Mania. They don't really need him. It's already a stacked card in itself. But I think Shane, hell, if Kurt was going to have one more match, and if Kurt was going to be booked for a Mania match, and he was going to get inducted, and he was going to be having a match at WrestleMania, he could face Shane, and they could build up on that whole classic match they had back at King of the Ring, and be like, oh, you know, we went through so much, let's do it one more time, and that could be what the storyline could be, because that is arguably Shane McMahon's best match he's ever had. The most brutal, but it's the best. You watch King of the Ring, Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon. You will probably agree with me. Look at the brutality they put themselves through. They actually smashed themselves through real glass. I think Shane broke a few bones, or fractured some bones, and Angle just fucked himself up. They both fucked themselves up, man. Excuse my language, but they messed each other up big time, and they did it for real. That was a shoot match. And that was just because Shane wanted to show people that he wasn't just the boss's son. He was just a crazy, athletic guy that had a lot of great tricks up his sleeve. Like that shooting star press that Shane did, I was like, what the fuck? Vince McMahon's son can pull out a shooting star press, and he's not even a proper wrestler. Now that is interesting. That was just like, what the hell? I didn't even see that coming, man. I know he could jump off of things and do an elbow, but a freaking shooting star press? I lost my mind. I was like, you know what? That's crazy. That is fucking crazy. But I didn't think Lesnar could pull out a shooting star press, and then he did that at WrestleMania. It was just like, what the shit? But yeah, I think, Shane, if I've got to weigh up options for Shane, what's left really? I know Shane wanted to be like, oh, there's consequences for what Lesnar done, and I'm going to take it out on him and all this bullshit. They could have done Shane McMahon versus Brock Lesnar, but I don't think they're going to do it. It's going to be Lesnar and Goldberg. And Shane will either face off against maybe a Ziggler, or you've got Baron Corbin. Oh, who else? Ziggler, Corbin. I'm just trying to think of who's on SmackDown right now that could face off against him. And yeah, you got Dean Ambrose as well. Dean could go a bit heel, because Dean, he could start displaying lunatic behaviour, and maybe Shane's like, oh, you're too dangerous, you're too much of a lunatic, we need to keep you in check, sort of thing. And that definitely could be an option. That they could go with Dean Ambrose versus Shane McMahon, and they definitely could. There's no way, there's no saying that can't happen, and that's actually the likely thing that they're going to go with. But then again, they could go Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler, the mega rematch from SummerSlam, but we all hated the SummerSlam match, and there's no really big reason to put them back in the ring together again. Yeah, I don't know where they're going with this whole Dolph Ziggler thing. I think they might do a Apollo Crews versus Dolph Ziggler sort of thing. Could happen. They could get Apollo's name built up a bit more heading into Mania. Cruz, it's hard to know with Cruz because he's very sort of like one-dimensional, a bit bland. He's not like amazing or anything like that. I think that with Dolph, they're either going to go. They've got to give him some face. If they're going to give Dolph a match, it'll either be in like a Intercontinental title thing, but I think if Miz has got the belt, it will be Miz versus Bryan for the title. If Miz has the championship and he wins it off Dean, which I think probably would be the case, I think the only reason they had Dean Ambrose win it was to build him back up a bit and give him something to do. But with Cruz, I'm just very... At the moment with Corbin and Cruz and Ziggler, I'm just sitting there looking at it all and thinking to myself, well, I don't really know what the fuck to do with these guys. You could put them in a triple threat. Ziggler, Corbin, Cruz. You could do that. You could even put them in a tag match. You could put like Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler versus Apollo Crews and Kalisto, and that's likely to happen. They could do some sort of weird tag match. Then, the tag titles, I forgot about that. Now, tag titles, American Alpha won. Oh, right. Hey, now that is something. That is something interesting. They could put Dolph Ziggler in a tag team with Baron Corbin, and I've heard rumours that they're going to, and I heard that they want to bring in some faction with like Jack Swagger in it. Jack Swagger, Heath Slater, Dolph Ziggler, and Baron Corbin as like a 4-man faction. I think that they could do that. They could like have Ziggler and Corbin versus American Alpha for the tag titles at WrestleMania. They could do that. And that probably would be an amazing match because Corbin's been doing amazing lately. If you look at his pay-per-view track record lately, like with the TLC match, well, it wasn't the TLC match, it was the match at TLC, and that chairs match, that was the best chairs match I've ever seen in my life. And then the couple pre-show matches he had with Apollo Crews and all those other pay-per-views, he's been doing well. And Ziggler, he's a fine worker. He hasn't been amazing lately, like everyone had built him up to be for years, but I think he's been a fine worker. So putting Corbin and Ziggler together, I think, would be a cool idea, and then having them face off against American Alpha for the titles. But they could just be like, okay, the easiest thing to do is just get the Usos to face American Alpha at WrestleMania, and then just leave it at that. But I think what they should do is mix it up, get Ziggler and Corbin together as a faction. Hell, if you want to add fucking Jack Swagger and Heath Slater, go for it. Because Swagger and Slater have nothing to do. You could get those 4 guys to run rampant on SmackDown Live, have them decimate some people, go after people like Kalisto, beat on some small men, make themselves look like big tough guys, and be like, you know what, we run this place now. Hell, you could even do some sort of match like to build. Well, I think I think this is going to happen. It's going to be like Ziggler, Cena, Dean Ambrose, and Styles, and a few other guys in the Chamber. You could like build Ziggler up to be this beast in the Chamber and all that sort of thing. But yeah, with matches that are left, you've got the Universal title, and that would be... I think Roman might win the belt. I think Roman might win the belt, and it will be Kevin Owens versus Jericho for the United States title. And I think what's going to happen is Roman Reigns is going to face off against Goldberg for the Universal title at Fastlane. and because, you know, he's booked for a match at Fastlane. And I know Goldberg has said a lot of times, I want to face Roman Reigns. I want to face Roman at some point while I'm here in the company. Because we've both got a spear. They could play on that like, oh, I've got a spear, you've got a spear, and I'm a big man, you're a big man. Let's go at it. Let's go for the title. I'm back, you know, I'm Goldberg. And they could do that. They could do that at Fastlane, and then Lesnar interferes, fucks over Goldberg. Goldberg's pissed off. And they could be like, okay, well, we got to do this and settle this at WrestleMania. And then that's what's going to, you know, add fuel to the fire of that Goldberg versus Lesnar match. But, yeah, I think at WrestleMania it's going to be like Roman versus either, it's going to be like Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns, or it's going to be, you know, Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. And hell, they could even make it a triple threat. It could be Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor in a triple threat match for the Universal title at WrestleMania. And I wouldn't be against that. I think it would give Braun Strowman something to do. You know, I think what I would have liked to have seen, I really would have loved to have seen Braun Strowman versus Big Show to pass the torch of the Giant, because I know Big Show's been like, oh, I'm retiring this year and stuff like that, but Big Show's also contradicted that and said, well, I'm not really retiring, but this is probably the last time I'm going to get a big match, so I'm just going to have it with Shaquille O'Neal, because we had that awesome stare down last year at WrestleMania, and that's just going to be it. I don't think that should be the case. I think they should have, you know, the whole big man feud. Have Braun Strowman, Big Show, big clash at WrestleMania, and have that be it, you know. Just shared your video on my Facebook page and subscribed. Nice podcast. Thanks so much, Matt. That's awesome, man. Means a lot. Yeah, it was a very brutal match. Now, I have been talking so much that I've forgotten what match that you would have been talking about there. But yeah, I think they should do the big man feud. Big Show, Braun Strowman, they should do that, and they should have Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor for the Universal title at WrestleMania. However, I think with Braun Strowman getting the monster mega push that he's getting, they're going to be like, hey, well, let's get him for the Universal title, and I've been hearing the rumours that it's going to be Roman versus Strowman. I love how they sound so similar. Roman versus Strowman. But yeah, I think they're going to do Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. And then you've got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Hell, they could even give it some meaning this year. Why not give the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal some meaning? And just... You know what? Braun Strowman doesn't even have to be in like a singles match. It could be just Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, and then they have Braun Strowman in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, just to give him that victory, and so he can have that say that, oh yeah, I'm the champion of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But even if they've got nothing for Corbin to do, they could get him back in there, and he could like defend his honour, I guess. I don't know. But I think what they should do, Corbin Ziggler tag team facing American Alpha for the titles. That'd be an amazing match. Braun Strowman versus Big Show, but they're not going to do it because, of course, it's already been announced ages ago that it's going to be Shaquille versus Big Show. So we just have to put up with that. And then the rest is, you know, you've got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle. That's if they even do the Battle Royal. You know, they don't have to do it, but I think they probably will. Then you've got the women's title. I think you've got two women's titles, and you've got the Cruiserweight title. Now, this WrestleMania is probably going to be stacked, and there's probably going to be a million matches on the show, because we've got so many belts that need to be put on the line, and so many matches that are happening. So this is probably going to be the biggest WrestleMania in all fucking history, man. But look at all the titles they've got now. They could even put that UK title on the show, They could have the biggest pre-show in history. I think like the Cruiserweight belt, maybe one of the women's belts, and like the UK title could all go on the pre-show. And then, on the main show they could have like one of the other women's belts, and yeah, just have all the rest of the card. Like the IC, the US, all that sort of stuff. Women's title, however, I think it's going to be Charlotte versus... I know there was a lot of rumours, people saying that, Ronda Rousey was going to face off with Charlotte in some sort of big match. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ronda Rousey might be a bit emotionally distraught after a loss. And I think WWE would be a smart move. It would be a really good smart move if they, if Ronda decided, okay, well, I want to be a WWE superstar. She doesn't have to be a regular, but she could be a special attraction, and she could come in, at SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Big Four. She doesn't have to do a whole lot. Just train and just get ready for it, really. She doesn't even have to have a match this year. She could just have an appearance and just, like, punch Charlotte in the face and knock her out or something, and just build up to a big match at, like, SummerSlam later on in the year or something like that. And, yeah, but Charlotte, I think they're going to do the 4 horsewomen. I think they're going to... That's if they don't do, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to have, like, Becky Lynch versus Mickie James, possibly for the women's title, because Mickie's signed now. I think Mickie could win at Mania.